back on.
No, it doesn't look to be anything.
No, strange. All right, hang on then. It just said... Okay, right, now I think it's back.
Yeah?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it's back. Yeah.
Super. All right, don't know what happened there, but asked me to restart it, and I did. So here we are.
Okay,
We'll just briefly recap Liverpool defence chat, because I think it was happening while that was going on. So just really quickly on Liverpool defence. A lot of unknowns with all the injuries. We know that their team expected goals conceded is not good. 10.2 over the sort of last 6 game weeks. That's the 10th best overall. So not reliable for clean sheets. With only 1 in that time. 7 goals conceded is good, but they're not keeping the clean sheets to warrant the investment really. So Van Dijk, he's the only player to feature in the top 20 defenders of all these Liverpool defenders. Sorry, and he's in at 17th. He did have the third highest amount of shots in the box in the last 6 game weeks and did score, but without that goal, he's way down. So he's so pricey as well. It's really difficult to justify. But then you look at those fixtures of Brighton, Sheffield United, and Crystal Palace, 3 home games, then the next 4. You think surely there's like 2 clean sheets in there. And even when you look at the team in general, for expected points over the last 6, there's some surprise names in there. Like Elliott tops it. Darwin second, Gakpo, then McAllister, Luis, in that order. So none of the defenders crop up, and it's just,
Elliot, what?
Yeah, I know. But expected points per 90, he comes out on top. I suppose the interesting one to me after sort of the usual suspects in terms of like the attacking players is McAllister, 5.8 million, so 2 goals, 3 assists in the last 6 game weeks. Only 9 minutes fewer than Van Dijk, so he's pretty nailed on. He's got the highest BPS of all pool players. So if he gets a return, he's likely to get bonus too. He's cheaper than Van Dijk, and kind of think that if he were going to triple on Liverpool attack for this run of fixtures, a bit like how Rice has been playing recently, and you mentioned Douglas Luiz before, there is actually merit in picking these sort of almost like creative midfielders that have got that license to go forward, because he has got very similar expected points to Rice over the last 6 game weeks as well. So yeah, I think there's merit in that. Just finally on Liverpool pick Salah, I kind of think he's a no-brainer really. Not too much to say. He returned against United in the FA Cup. Should have had that assist against City when he played Luis through, and previous game he got the 11 points against Brentford. So good time to own him, I think, before he becomes tempted, because his ownership is still low. People haven't jumped back on him that much. 25% ownership is still quite low. So just to get your thoughts on Liverpool, really, like how are you ranking their picks at the moment? I look at Darwin and think he's good for these fixtures, but then I haven't trusted him all season. Why should I trust him now?
I was going to ask you the same thing. Darwin, like, is he a good pick on the wild card? Like, I don't know. Like, is he even fit? Like, he's apparently got a hamstring injury on the FPL flag, but I assume everyone assumes he's going to be back and fine. So I don't know. I want to pick him. I think that Sheffield United at home fixture looks great, and I think even the United game looks good. That he would be someone that returns in that game.
He got 2 assists in the FA Cup game against United, so I don't see why he can do it again.
Yeah, he's tough. He's I owned him for quite a while. He was pretty I don't know, average. He was up and down. If he can just stay fit, he should start most games. Luiz is sort of interesting too. Like, Luiz is like done quite well in terms of points over that time too. Like, when only Darwin, like Luiz is like done pretty good too. So maybe it's Salah plus Darwin, and then like chalk the defense. But I don't know. Darwin's scary, because there is just like obviously nailed on picks like Solanke at 7.2 million, just under him. Obviously Watkins still. Even like Isaac, as Newcastle have obviously got a double as well, a good fixture. I think the double in 37, I think, is for them. But yeah, their fixtures in the middle term is good as well. So there is options instead of him, but I think he's probably going to be quite highly owned, assuming he's fit.
Yeah, like his returns have been really good. He's returned like 9 times in his last 9 games, but because he's usually missing a load of chances and or getting a yellow card, he's pretty much capping out at like 5 or 6 points rather than getting like 8 or 9, which if Solanke or Watkins generally return in a game, because they're doing so much more, that one goal usually means like 2 or 3 bonus points, and Darwin's not getting that. So yeah, it's a difficult one. I think the fixtures are there to play him, but it just needs to be better basically, or be reliable.
He's got that explosive potential, which is an up for him. He's got the potential to just score two goals and assists in a game, sort of thing. So, and that is fairly rare in this game, I think. So
yeah, he's done it. He's got. I just had a look. He's got 3 double-digit hauls this season. So it's not bad, but you compare it to some of the other sort of. I suppose he's not quite in the premium bracket, but he's in that, let's say, the mid-price attacker bracket. Solanke's had 3 as well. So yeah, I don't know. Fairly similar. Just on the Brighton side of things, they do have a double game week, I think, in 37 to come, and I think that's the one you mentioned where they play Man City in one of them. So I feel like it's really difficult to justify like any investment. It's not Man City. They play Newcastle and Chelsea in 37. I just think it's difficult to warrant any investment in Brighton at the moment. It's probably just worth mentioning just their fixtures are tough at the moment. They got Liverpool, Brentford, Arsenal, Burnley, Man City, which I think, there's 3 teams in the next 5 game weeks that are like pushing for the league title, and I think Brentford away is going to be difficult because they're fighting to just avoid relegation. Brighton are kind of in that safe middle ground, so what have they got to play for? And 35 to 38, Bournemouth, Aston Villa, Newcastle, Chelsea, Man United. Not like the best end of the season. I kind of thought they could end up being the whipping boys, because like they've just fallen off a cliff in terms of things to pay for. So yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah, it's a shame there aren't any runs of fixtures that are good there, because the ones in between the top teams is like Brentford obviously, as you said, but then Burnley and then Bournemouth, like those aren't bad. So yeah, I think there's certainly still points in those games from like I don't know what's happened to Matoma this year. He's like injured, isn't he?
Yeah, he's just not had a good season. Basically.
Yeah, there's points from someone in there.
Gross is the obvious one because he's just like been a returning queen this season. Like his bonus points have been good, and he's been getting like the odd goal, but he's quite expensive at like, I think he's like 6.5 maybe now. So when you've got Palmer doing it for 5.7, he's not really going to be in your team in place of him if it's like a 4th or 5th mid. Yeah. So yeah, it's tricky. All right, should we just talk about some general picks that you like because we've got, like we keep saying, we've got different approaches. I'm thinking bench boost in 34. Main reason for that, I think for me, is that I like to be close from wildcard to bench boost, so I know that I'm getting probably 13 or 14 players playing a double, and I kind of feel like it reduces the injury risk. It might not be optimal because I feel like I'm going to get Chelsea and Spurs players out and then back in again. But also what I quite like about bench boost in 34 against 37 is that because Liverpool and Arsenal don't have a double in 37, I think most people are going to try and get rid of them, and then they'll be thinking, is it worth hitting to get back in? So I quite like the idea of in game week 37 sitting with 3 Arsenal and 3 Liverpool when they play Wolves and Everton at home, and them being almost differentials, because people who are bench boosting that time probably won't take a hit to get 2 or 3 of their players back in. So that's what I quite like about it. But that might mean nothing if they're not playing for anything and they could rotate their team. So I'm gambling on them still wanting to go for the league, basically.
So I think Arsenal is supposed to have Man United in 37. Is that right?
I'll just double check, but I know they definitely don't have any more doubles after 34. Yeah, they have Man United away, and Liverpool have Aston Villa away. So neither game is that easy in 37. So I would think.
So you're saying you would free hit 37, so they come back in for Everton away for Arsenal 38, and then Wolves at home for Liverpool.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So that's the reason, really.
Yeah, no, I do think it's smart. 34 bench boost close to the wild card does make sense, because you're just you're making sure there's still teams with stuff to play for. But at the same time, I'm looking at the opposite of free hit 34 because of the fact that I like the Spurs and Chelsea fixtures up until 34, and then I like them after 34, because the free hit teams for obviously Spurs blank, but then 34 for Chelsea is let me see, Arsenal away, which is obviously not great. So free hit them out of that team, and then bring them back for the Aston Villa fixture in 35, which is fine. But then they've also got a double in 36, which is West Ham and Tottenham, which is fine, and then the double in 37, which is Forest and Brighton. So you should still have them. As well as Spurs, who have a double in 36, which is Liverpool and Chelsea, which is not great, but they've got a 37 double too. So they've got, and then in the meantime, we've got Luton at home this week, West Ham, Forest are the next few. So I think taking advantage of them is good at the same time. So it could go either way. The way your luck's been this season, probably go your way. But I
just think it's just difficult to decide. I mean, people who have wildcard in 28 have now got like decide as well, and I think there's definitely a split in terms of people who do. I feel like I'm in the minority from reading who's doing what. It seems like a lot of people are gearing towards bench boost 37, but we'll just see. So let's just talk generally about some picks that we like on the wild card. I'll start with just talking about goalkeepers. So for me, I'm looking at Pickford as being potentially my second goalkeeper to sit on the bench. So goes without saying he's probably just like a good pick until the end of the season anyway, because Everton have something to play for. He's inexpensive and he's been doing consistently well this season. So he's the fourth highest scoring keeper, 100 points. Yep. He's only two of the goalkeepers ahead of him have played a game more, and he's averaging 3 saves per game over the season. He's got a double where you would expect him to get probably no clean sheets against
Forest at home.
Forest at home, maybe it's a big game for them actually. So maybe Forest and then save points against Liverpool, so that could be good. And I just think that their fixtures towards the end of the season to try and sort of stay up are not bad. They got home games against Burnley, that Forest game you mentioned, Brentford and Sheffield United. So, I'd probably play him in those four games and hope he gets a clean sheet. So, I think he would be he's on my radar, and I think he's someone to look at.
Agree.
And also, Raya is I mentioned Raya because he's a good way into the Arsenal defence because he's reliable in terms of he's going to play, but at the same time, Gabriel is like Gabriel 5'3" now, something like that.
Yeah, but most people probably already had him at cheaper.
There isn't that much upside to having Raya. You're not really. I had a look. He's only good for clean sheets. He's only got 4 save points all season. So the fact that Pickford's averaging 3 a game, but if you want a reliable way into an Arsenal defence that saves you a couple of points or like in budget, Raya's not a bad shout really.
Yeah.
Who what sort of picks have you got, or who you've been looking at? Because yours is like obviously going to be slightly different than mine.
I was looking at Kelleher. I'm maybe not going to go there, but I do like the Pickford shot. Petrovic, I think is a good one.
It's like a must, isn't it?
Yeah, he's obviously got good fixtures and obviously 2 doubles. So you can free hit him out in 34 if you wanted to go that way and go to another doubler who's obviously playing. In the meantime, Burnley, United's not too bad, I guess, but Sheffield United, Everton after that, like the fixtures are good enough to possibly warrant a double up with gusto. I think he's cheap. He's 4.5. Gets save points. They can keep clean sheets. I think he's a good option, assuming he's definitely nailed on, which is obviously a worry. Same with Kelleher. Sanchez hasn't come back in for Petrovic in the Premier League, so I would assume he's still fine. But I think if you're picking a second one, maybe not Kelleher, because you probably shouldn't have Petrovic and Kelleher, which is what I'm actually looking at the moment. But you need to have one safe one, which is probably Pickford is probably a good idea.
Yeah, I would absolutely love it if Kelleher, I hope Alisson's fine, but if Alisson got ruled out for at least like the next 4 or 5 game weeks, but I just don't think
3.8 is crazy.
Yeah, I just don't think it's going to happen. All right, in defence, I only highlighted a couple players really because I think there's you're right. What we mentioned before, there's so many cheap players and enablers for bench boosts and wildcard. I can just name them all like now. Chris Richards for Palace at 3.9, Lascelles also 3.9 Newcastle. Both of those have got doubles, one in 34, one in 37. How do I pronounce Kivior? Is that right?
Kivior, I think so.
Yes, he is interesting because he seems to be trusted now more than Zinchenko and Tommy Asu at left back. So he's had 5 starts in a row. He's had 3 attacking returns in that time. And the game before that, when he came on and got an assist. So he's only 4.4, 1.5%. I think for people like me and you who have wildcarded now, he's not a good pick because he could easily get dropped for the City game.
Yeah.
But if he starts this City game, it would make me think he's got that position pretty much locked for the rest of the season and maybe would only miss 1. But yeah, I don't know.
It's tough because like Zinchenko is a good player, and if he comes in and plays well for 1 game, there's no reason he can't. He was the first pick before that, you know. So yeah, I asked a few Arsenal fans about that a few weeks ago. Like, is Kivior a good pick? And obviously at the time he was, but most people were saying it's only a matter of time till he loses his place and his X minutes are a risk. So yeah, I think he'll go as a differential for sure because many people will be worried about that.
What do you think about the Spurs defence? Like, fixtures are like pick up a little bit. Luton, West Ham, Forest, and Newcastle, and they've got 2 back-to-back doubles, but they both suck. Like, I don't think they're keeping clean sheets against Chelsea, Man City, or who's the other? They've got Arsenal in there to come.
Chelsea, Liverpool, Burnley, and City. Yeah,
I just can't see clean sheets. I was having a look at Porro, and his attacking returns have just like dried up. He's gone 5 games without a goal now, or a goal involvement, which is the longest of the season. We know he's offset pieces since Maddison's back. I think he's like a lot of money compared to someone like Rice or even still the Arsenal defenders, because even just their defence is not as good. So have you been looking at Spurs defenders? I suppose you have, because
I've been looking at you, Doggy, because I like their fixtures in the meantime, as I said, and you can 34 you can sort of take them out because obviously they're blanking. That's another good reason to I think the 4 in the meantime are good enough that you could possibly get a couple clean sheets out of them with Luton and Forest and maybe even West Ham. But then 34, take them out, fine. But then you've got them back in for, like, I think Udoggy's got decent attacking potential. Like, he seems to still get so far forward that he's not looking at sort of Porro's sort of reliance on set pieces, which he actually doesn't have anymore. So Udoggy seems to just be getting farther forward. But at the same time, I'm maybe not going to go there because I think there isn't many clean sheets after 34 anyway. So it's probably short term. Maybe you could pick him for the short term and then take him out. Like at 35, like sort of transfer him out for someone who's got a good. So that could be a way to do it. And he's cheap. Udoggy at 5 million it's not too bad. I think there's a few clean sheets in the next few at least.
Maybe that. I think that Forest game, Luton game, is just a tough one for me because they're just like they do score. Like they still haven't like blanked like since before we talked about them for their double game week, and that would worry me. But other defenders, Gusto, I think that's almost like a no-brainer pick for people on wildcard now because he's so cheap and he's got all these doubles and his attacking returns have been good. He's had 3 assists since he got into the team in game week 18, and he's one of the top players in that time for key passes. So you put me onto him and it's worked out all right, to be honest.
Are you worried about? I think James is supposed to be back like pretty soon-ish.
Really?
So like how long is he gonna be nailed on? Well, is the question with Gusto.
I've only budgeted to have him in my. So again, I'm potentially just getting rid of him before 34 because he wouldn't be a double player. So I'm hoping he just starts this maybe 2 of the next 3 games, Burnley at home and Sheffield United. But knowing what James's injury record's like, I can't imagine him starting many games soon.
That too, yeah. At the same time, you could transfer him out to if Chris Richards or whatever at that at Palace, because the Palace double is good. West Ham and Newcastle both at home. So obviously free hit, you wouldn't need to do that. But interesting. But they've got 2 doubles, Chelsea. So is Gusto going to be near? I think apart from Gusto, I wouldn't want to go any. I think Chilwell might be okay. I don't think anyone's looking at him, but he is expensive. He's going to be a serious differential. But he's sort of looked nowhere near like what he was at the start of the season, where he's like so highly owned, and he's just that player seems to be gone. But
that's sad. Right, on midfielders, a couple really from me. Like Garnacho, I think is obviously a great enabler.
Yep.
4.9 million, still less than 10% owned. If you're playing 3-5-2, he's brilliant fifth mid. 5 returns in the last 6 game weeks. He's actually had 15 shots in the box in the last 5 game weeks, which is the third highest of all mids. Same as Saka, and he'd obviously doubles in 37. Kind of feel like he's quite an easy buy if your team is set up at 3-5-2 and you want to have two expensive strikers. So yeah, I like
fixtures
it.
Are great as well.
Fixtures are very good. Yeah. So
yeah,
I like Garnacho a lot. Richarlison would be a good pick for me as well if you fancy double up on the Spurs attack, which I do. I know you probably don't agree, but I like him more than Maddison. He's that out of position centre forward if he comes back in this week. So I feel like for you and me, he's probably not a good one this week because maybe Andrew's going to stick with what he knows. But his returns before his injury were good. He had 8, 8, 7, 15, 2 and 2. And I kind of expect this weekend he's going to be back in at centre forward and Son is going to play left wing again. That would be my guess.
It would be nice if Ange can say that.
Yeah, true.
That would be great. And then I am looking at the Spurs double up possibly, just for the foreseeable the next few. And I think Maddison is a great pick. Other than, but yeah, Richarlison would definitely beat him out if that does sort of end up being the case. Yeah, for sure.
Who have you got? Any others that sort of pique your interest?
Son Spurs seems to be a no-brainer pick on the wildcard. He's obviously 10.1 million. He's expensive, 33% owned. So you're kind of covering at the same time with him. Got those 2 doubles, as we say, 36 and 37, and then the next 3 are great. He's probably harder to pick if you don't have a free hit, I think, because obviously they do blank in 34. So that is a worry. But I guess you could just transfer him out but at the same time, that defeats the obvious of wanting the 2 doubles after that. So, I think he's certainly going to be in my team anyway. Assumably, he'll be in yours too. Yeah,
he's probably more than likely to be in there. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And just on the Everton defense, you'd mentioned Pickford. I think Branthwaite is another cheap, good player. 4.2 million, 6% owned, so differential. Doubles, as we said in 34, against Forest and Liverpool. Very good fixtures apart from that, especially on the bench boost. I think in 37 bench boost, he's got Sheffield United at home, which is, it's not a double, but he's got that one
good game
fixture, really good game that he's fine for a bench boost, where like sometimes you're not always going to have 15 doublers. And I think he's great for that. So 9th for XGC as a team, Everton, which is not bad too. And he's actually scored 2 goals this season too. So he does have set piece threat. I think he's a great option. And then Palace, like Munoz, I think he's scored 4.5, he's 0.1% owned at the moment. So uber differential. He's played every single game since he's joined. And all of the minutes, and they're actually playing wing backs at Palace at the moment. So he has been very far forward. He's often been one of the most like far forward in that team. So I think if there's a clean sheet, I think he's going to end up getting a goal or something like that, or an assist or a clean sheet sooner rather than later. So I think he's a great option. You could bench him for the next 2. I don't think he's necessarily a perfect pick at the moment because the next 2 are hard. The next 2 are good, Forest and Bournemouth, but then 2 after that is City and Liverpool in a row. So you could bench him for those 2. But at the same time, Chris Richards is 3.9. He's a 0.6 cheaper. But this guy is playing wing back, and Palace have been better recently. And then I guess Eze, I think, is also an option.
Absolutely.
Real differential as well. I've not really thought about him, to be honest, but next 2, he's sort of someone in the sort of vein of why I'm picking Maddison, as the next 2 are great, or the next 3, but they're just as good for Palace with Eze. 2 away games, bit scarier, but still, I think he's going to be solo owned. Maddison, I don't think many people are looking at him as well. He should be a good differential still. I think he's he's 14% owned at the moment. And seems to be involved. Got assists for England. 9 and 5 before the last one where he blanked. I don't think he's bad. And then Foden, I think most people are selling Foden, which is interesting. He's 8 million still, or I think he's probably a bit over that. But
it's just to fit in these double players. I know. I feel like there's so many players that we're just going to dodge points on, and Foden's probably going to be one of those.
But City are going to double in 37, so I guess you could sort of get rid of him for now, and then maybe look to bring him back in towards 37, which is fine. But I think those fixtures for City are still there for points anyway, and Foden's played basically every game apart from maybe like one. So yeah,
he might be worth.
And then I guess we'll talk about forwards now if you want.
Yeah, just on the forwards, I think there's probably, one for each option I've got mentioned here. So Solanke, obviously really highly owned still, 28%, 7.2 million. He's got great fixtures up until 34. He's got 3 home games in the next 4. Everton, Crystal Palace at home, then followed by a good game away against Luton, Man United at home. The double games aren't the best. Aston Villa away and Wolves away, but he's the XG of 4.7 is the second highest of all forwards in the last 6 game weeks, and 0.63 XA is the third highest of all attackers too. So,
is he almost a no-brainer? I feel like he might be.
I feel like he is, yeah. Well, I've got him. I mean, I hadn't owned him all season until the double game week, and he got 0 points and then 8, and it's just his fixtures are quite decent until the end of the season. Like even after this period, he's got Brighton at home, and he's also got a Brentford at home game, Arsenal away and Chelsea away, but by then I might have got Watkins back in. So
or he could even go to a Højlund who doubles in 37.
Yeah.
Whereas they don't. I think they play Brentford at home, which is not bad again, but yeah.
No, I think he looks like a good pick. And then the other one, if you're probably playing the longer game and you're looking for a mid-price striker for 37, Isaac Wilson isn't due back until May, so he should.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, apparently.
I was wondering about that. Okay.
Yeah, I think he's been ruled out for quite a while. So I mean, that might even be end of season, to be honest. Knowing what his injury record's like, but he doesn't have a great injury record himself. He's played 3 in a row now. Previously missed 3. Before that, he'd played 4 and then missed 3. So yeah, it's so far in the future. I feel like he's not sure if you can make it, and also like his stats are pretty poor. Like the last 3 games he played, right? So game week 26 to 28, he only had 3 shots in the box, 1 key pass, and expected points of 10. So I'm not sure why he's that popular. I think it's just the fact that he's a mid-price forward. I mean, his fixtures now are
good,
but I'd rather have Gordon. Like Gordon's been doing it for longer, and he's cheaper this season. I got a bit of an attachment to Gordon. 130 points over the season for Gordon, and Isaac 95. If I sort that by like points per game, I think Gordon's even coming out on top.
I suppose he's another one you could sell Solanke to in 37 if you wanted to. Yeah. Right, they got Brighton at home and Man United away. That seems okay for a Newcastle striker.
Yeah, it's not 37. Bad. It's not bad.
Yeah.
Right, is there any more players we want to chat about, or do we just talk about?
Yeah, so Jackson.
I do like Jackson. I feel
Jackson
like
at Chelsea. He's going to be a differential, 4.6%. Feels like game week 3 all over again. But those fixtures are great then, and they're good now too. So yeah, Burnley, Man United, Sheffield United, Everton, Arsenal, Villa, but then the 2 doubles of West Ham, Tottenham, Forest, Brighton, and then Bournemouth to end the season. Like those are good fixtures. He's had 8, 6, and 5 in his last 3. So he is getting returns. Pretty good on bonus when he does get returns. He's probably going to be instead of Watkins, like on most people's wildcards. Watkins is going to have to make way, it seems like. Hopefully that doesn't backfire on most of us. Probably will, but I'm
so worried.
So obviously Palmer picks himself in the sort of Chelsea, for Chelsea players, but I think Jackson could be a spicy little differential. Because that third striker spot, if you're picking Darwin and Haaland, he's 6.8 million. He is cheap-ish. Like, I mean, you could go there. Like, I don't see why not. Like, there's going to be goals. If we're thinking Palmer is getting goals and probably assists, like who's he assisting? Possibly Jackson. So, stats are kind of okay-ish. 7 shots, 3 big chances. 3 big chances is fine. XG of 2.2. 3 key passes, 2 big chances created. So he's sort of doing okay on both sides. So, I think there's routes to points with him,
definitely,
which seems good. And then just like Cunha, Cunha's back from injury. He was doing great before, and Wolves have a double in 34 as well, and really good fixtures in the short term. Villa away this week is obviously tough, but Burnley after that, West Ham at home, Forest away. Is he back
full training?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
And then their double is Arsenal at home and Bournemouth home, so 2 home games. I think Neto is still out, which is obviously a shame, which does sort of dampen their sort of expected goals, I guess. But yeah, Cunha was good before that, so yeah, someone to consider too. Yeah,
and I feel like he was on pens as well, wasn't he? I'll get a bit.
Yeah, that was possibly because Hwang was away, but we don't know at this point in time because Hwang didn't have, well, they haven't had any since. So
and Sarabia had been taking him taking one in the meantime. I feel like.
Yeah, he possibly did. Yeah.
All right, should we have a look at our drafts? I feel like even more confused now, to be honest. We've spoken about all these players. I don't know what I'm going to end up doing.
I don't even know which one I even sent you. There's so many.
Oh god! Right, I'll start with mine. Can you see that? So I've even sort of decided to change away from this recently. So like I say, I'm pretty much going on the fact that I want a bench boost in.
Wow, Virgil. Okay.
I know. I don't like this version. So I'm thinking that to pivot away from Chelsea and Tottenham, I'm going to have some cash cows that I can downgrade. So the alternate option to this is Saka instead of Rice, like Altonori or whatever he's called instead of Virgil, and Pickford and Areola. But this team here can get to 15 doublers. Sorry, 14 because I'm not getting rid of Haaland. 14 doublers in 34, and it'll have 2-3 transfers into 35. So that seems quite good, but there's a few things. I just don't trust Darwin. I'm not huge on Rice. I kind of want some Liverpool coverage, but maybe it's not essential. And Virgil's so expensive, so yeah, there's still a few question marks really. But the rest of it, I don't really mind, to be honest. I like the idea of getting the bench boost out of the way, and then getting the players I want back in, like Watkins.
Yeah, true. I still think Darwin's probably worth picking for the next, and probably good for the double. But yeah, I do agree. I don't think Virgil is possibly required. And then Gabriel, do you think you're sticking there?
I think I keep some Arsenal coverage. Yeah, I think I'll keep Arsenal coverage, and Gabriel's probably the cheapest and most reliable way in there. So
Saka, you can't afford.
No, I could. So if Virgil went back to Altonori and Pickford went down to Areola, I can get Saka back in. So, and that's probably the most likely one I'll do, and just keep like a loaded front seven and just have absolute pittance in defence, basically.
Yeah, well, you could probably Neto to Kelleher. I think Kelleher will probably be all right until the double. You imagine?
Well, Alisson was meant to be back this weekend.
Is that right?
So that's what I'd heard. But if he was back, then absolutely he'd be in the team. Oh, sorry, if he wasn't back, he'd be in the team.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that's where we are. But yeah, I don't feel any clearer after chatting about this. But I definitely think I'm still going to bench boost 34 and then free hit 37. I'm pretty set on that, to be honest.
Yeah, I like it. I think it seems fine.
Yeah. All right, let's have a look at where you are.
I'm going to have to wait for it to come up on the stream, so I don't remember which one it sent you.
The one you've got sent me has got Muniz up front, so you're playing 3-5-2 with Madison and Son.
But I would want to play Muniz this week for sure, because he's got Sheffield United, so it would be tough to know who I would bench this week. Yeah, I was looking at Kelleher and Petrovic in the defence, or in the keepers. Like I said, I think both of them together is probably too risky. Ake I liked, as just many aren't going for City defence. But I think maybe I could just possibly bring him in to 37 if maybe just avoid them for now and then bring them in 37 when they do double. Nori I like as just someone who seems to have nailed down his spot, is getting goals and stuff like that at the moment. Lascelles, good fixtures in the short term. Cheap, great. Gusto sort of, like I said, picks himself. Gabriel, I do still have them in, but I may end up removing. Because I'm certainly tempted to go cheapest chips in the defense and then put Muniz up to like a Slanky. That would be good. But at the same time, that would be rough for who I bench again. But Salah, Son, Madison, maybe I don't go with, and maybe I bring in Garnacho. Just to sort of be able to get that third striker up to someone really good. I mean, I want to pick some spicy ones. Maybe it's a Jackson, something like that. that seems great for this week. Like Burnley at home, oh, that's spicy. Like even
Yeah.
people are looking at like Palmer captain. I'm not against that, to be honest.
No,
Burnley
same.
at
I quite
home
like
seems
that.
really good. Obviously Salah seems like the stand-up captain, but yeah, I think Chelsea could score a good few against Burnley. So yeah, there's just so many picks. It's hard to nail down them all, which is the best. Yeah, that's me at the moment.
Yeah, I like it. I just think it's such a there's just too much choice. There's so many different like strategies and ways to play at the moment. It's just making it really difficult, to be honest.
Yeah, and the problem with going all out attack is that the fact that I'm going to have to bench one constantly, which means it's less ideal. So yeah, I'm probably going to have to strike that balance. Muniz seems good. Semenyo is all right at the same time. He kind of doubles in 34, but at the same time, if I'm going to free hit at 34, what's the point of picking him?
Yeah.
Because I'm probably not going to want to play him until then. So yeah, some more thinking to do.
Yeah, I know. It just feel like I want the deadline to roll around and just have a team sorted for me. But yeah, we'll see. Oh god, Chatsport in the chat said accidentally pressed the wild card instead of free hit last game week. Have a team of doubles. Oh god.
Oof. Ouch.
Yeah, that sounds rough. I know. Just to final thought on it. Really, I could just. There's definitely going to be some FOMO. I'm definitely going to like this game week and the next one. Just going to think, why did I sell Watkins, or why did I not get Liverpool defence? It was obvious they've got some good fixtures. I don't know. There's just something's going to happen, but
yeah,
I think I'm more likely just to go all out attack and have a fairly cheap defence, to be honest, and just roll with it.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
We'll see. Cool. Have you got any more to add? It's been a long one tonight.
Don't think so. Yeah, I think we're good.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us in two parts. Sorry about the intermission. We'll be back next week and we'll have our wildcard scores in. Scary times. All right. Thanks everyone for joining us. We'll see you again.
Yeah. Cheers all.
Bye bye.